We've got a special guest with us this morning, and I want to introduce her now. Romey Atchley. Now, she has lived she's got a new book out. We'll talk about that in just a second. But she has lived in Alaska for 20 years?
Yes, 20 years now.
Oh, boy, and you're way out there and off the grid.
Yes, 200 miles from the nearest road.
Oh, man. That's so how do you have your own generator? I mean, how do you get power, or do you
go
without power?
We didn't at first. We went without power for a while. We used to burn gasoline and lamps, but we realized we were burning as much gasoline just for a lamp as we would in these new efficient generators that they have. So we ended up finally getting a generator and some electric lights.
But now you have to carry that fuel back and forth, right?
Yes, we do.
So how do you have snowmobiles? I mean, how do you get around to get...
Well, we use the rivers mostly. We have a boat to get out there in the summertime. We leave from the nearest little bush village, which is about 150 people. And by bush village, I mean there's no roads into the village.
Mm-hmm.
So the fuel is barged out to the village, and then we pick it up in our boat and bring it upriver about 100 miles. And then our cabin is actually back off the river. We have a half-mile walk to a lake, and then we take another boat to the cabin. So we haul the fuel out in the summer, but then it sits by the river until the wintertime when we can snow machine it in. So, it's quite an ordeal getting anything back to where we live.
Wow. But you do have electricity, and I take it you got a well for water, or you get your water from the river?
Well, we pounded our own well by hand.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
How long did it take you to get set up to the point where you were pretty much self-sufficient?
Pretty quick. Our first winter out there was already a little cabin we had bought. It was 10 feet by 13 and a half feet. So it was a very small place, and we built onto that. So we increased our living space and worked on little projects over the years. I think now we've been out at the cabin we're at now for 16 years out in the wilderness. So we're
now, whereabouts are we talking about in Alaska?
It's about the exact center of the state. It's in a wildlife refuge south of the Yukon River, near a small village called Ruby, which is 100 river miles from where we are.
Are you anywhere near the pipeline?
No, the pipeline's it's well east of us, probably 200 miles.
Okay. So there's no road anywhere near you at all?
No.
That's the only road that goes all the way up through there, I believe, isn't it?
Yes, Fairbanks.
Do you have a cause to go to Fairbanks or Anchorage at all?
We go to Fairbanks once a year, and we buy all our supplies for a whole year at one time, which is what I'm doing right now.
Oh, my.
Yes, I'm down here visiting family, too. So we take 4 weeks out of the year and come into town and visit and shop and then go back and don't see anybody again for another year.
Oh, boy. So I take it, you have television?
No television.
No television.
We do have a DVD player now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so...
can you get any radio? Is there any radio stations where you can keep up on what's going on, or the weather, or anything?
We put an antenna up in our yard so that we can receive a lot of the AM radio stations around the state. But I don't really listen to them much these days. I find that I just like to be in my own little world out there. It helps not knowing what's going on in the rest of the world.
Well, yeah, you got a good point there.
Up and
I feel that way a lot of days, too. I feel a lot better off if I had no clue what was going on.
Yeah.
How about wildlife? Are they a problem or an asset?
Not much of a problem. The bears usually damage something every year, and it's usually some little thing, but it ends up costing us probably about $500 every year in bear damage. They might tear a tent up, or this year they tore the topper off my boat. They got in our boat and threw a sleeping bag overboard, but it's little stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, they're drawn as like trash, are they not? I mean, how do you deal with that? You keep it all in the house, or you take it out and burn it, or what do you do?
We burn it, all of it, so anything with smell gets burned, and then all the remnants of what's burned. I try not to burn heavy plastics that don't smell like food or anything like that. And anything that's left over at the end of the year, we haul out in the winter by snow machine, and it sits down at the river till we can put it in our boat and haul it back to Ruby, to the dump there.
And they have a dump there. Because I would think that would be the main thing cause for worry. Now, do you have your place secured so the bears can't get into your house?
Yes. Right now, when we leave, we put, they call them bear boards in Alaska, that all over the windows. There's boards with nails sticking out of them so that the bears can't grab them to pull them off.
Oh, okay. Because I know there was one technique they used that looked like a wire, like chicken wire, they would put all around the building to keep the bears from clawing their way in. Have you done that, or does that work?
No, I've never heard of that, actually.
I saw one where there's a lot of people, there's a show on now where people want to, they call it Buy Alaska. And people are up there looking for cabins way out in the middle. I just saw that last night, my grandfather said. And I thought, boy, well, that's nice to live way out there. And then they'd give you the price, and you've got to be kidding me. For $200,000 for a place way out there in the middle of nowhere.
Everything is expensive in Alaska. It really is.
Now, you guys get money, though, every year, do you not, from the state?
Permanent fund dividend.
And that's, everybody in the States is all the oil, correct? That's where the money's coming from. Now, you don't have to pay any income tax or anything either, do you? I mean, state income tax.
We don't. I don't make enough money to pay.
Okay, but I mean, they don't have a state income tax in Alaska, do they?
I think they do.
They do?
I'm not sure because, like I said, I've never made enough money to have to pay it.
Oh, I know how that is. Here, that's not a problem for me either.
So there's been years when we've just lived on our dividends. When we first moved out there, we lived on $6,000 our first year, and that was all our dividend money.
Oh, really? It's that kind of money? Ooh.
Well, it's varied. It's been low lately, but I hear this year it's maybe $1,900 a person.
Wow. That's not bad.
No.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
But now your cost of living, it's really, I know when you're kind of living off the land, but you've got to travel so far to get your supplies. I mean, we're talking about, that's not cheap, right? You got to get fuel for the boat, right? Or you don't row the boat all the way 100 miles, do you?
No, and fuel out of the small village is $7 a gallon right now.
Ooh.
Yes.
So, yeah, there's all the transportation costs and getting it up there. You're going to make expensive.
Well, that's one of the reasons why we only leave once a year, because we can only afford to leave
I don't doubt it.
and come home.
Well, now, do you fly back here? I assume you do, or do you drive?
Yes, I fly back.
How long does it take to fly? Where do you fly from? Anchorage?
Fairbanks. There's an overnight flight, so 5 hours through the middle of the night, and then usually another flight, maybe 3 hours from wherever my connection is.
Where would you generally fly directly? Chicago or someplace like that?
Well, I've flown into Seattle, Minneapolis, this year Denver for the first time.
And then when you fly out of there, where would you normally come here to? Atlanta. And then somebody comes and fetches you over there.
Yeah, that's quite a culture shock.
Yeah, I'll bet it is. And I guess you enjoy it, or you would have left by now, right?
I do. I love it. I love it out there.
Does it seem like when you come back here, you're coming to another planet?
It really does. I mean, I think Fairbanks is big when I first get there, and then when I come down here, Fairbanks seems like nothing.
Yeah. Earthquakes, they a problem for you? Do you get them very often where you're at?
We have had some. I think more when I first moved there. There was a huge one several years back, like 8.9, I think, and yeah, we definitely felt that.
I bet you did. I just remember the big one back, I think it was 64, when Fairbanks and Anchorage were pretty much destroyed because I think it was the largest one ever recorded in North America. It was a huge earthquake. But, you know, and like I said, I was talking to you before, my mother wanted to homestead up there in 59 when they made it a state. I think you had to live there stake you out a piece of ground, and you had to live there, 5 years or 7 years, one or the other. You lived there that long, and that became yours.
Yeah, and clear a certain piece of land.
Yeah. And my mother was all for it, and she went on and on about it, and Dad just kept saying, no, you can go into any great detail.
I'm surprised. No. Usually it's the men that want to go to Alaska and drag their wives up there.
No, in this case it was my mother, so that plan didn't go anywhere, thank goodness. I would like to see Alaska. I don't know that I'd like to stay in Alaska, because I spent so many years in Ohio, and you come down here and it's just so warm. Now, it's excessively warm right now, but at least in the winter, most of the time here, it's fairly comfortable. Last winter was not a good example of that. And this coming winter, according to the Farmer's Almanac, that they just released the forecast for this coming winter. The eastern third of the nation is going to be colder than normal, a lot more snow than normal, like last winter. So, yeah.
Usually when it's cold down here, we get a warmer winter in Alaska.
Well, I noticed it seemed to warm up pretty quickly up there this year. It's like, keep an eye on it. For whatever odd reason, I'd like to know what the temperature is in Anchorage from time to time. We watch that Ice Road Truckers, and, it's kind of interesting to see how warm it gets as opposed to how cold it gets in the winter.
It can get warm. This summer was actually one of the coldest on record. We didn't get above 70 degrees, but for a few days.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
But now in the wintertime, you're talking 40, 45, 50 below zero is not uncommon.
Yeah, the coldest I've seen it was 72 below.
And that's just air temperature, right? Not wind chill.
Usually when you get that cold, there's no wind. It gets very clear and calm.
And do you have any problem staying warm? I mean, have you got enough
as long as you dress right when you're outside.
Well, I mean, even inside, can you keep your place warm?
Well, yeah, my husband spends all day stoking the wood.
Yeah, I'll bet.
And chopping wood.
Do you get to see the Aurora Borealis where you're at?
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. I've never seen that, but I've heard people that have that say it's just, there's nothing like it. You've got to see it to really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the book a little bit. Now, it has, tell us about it. It's called The Adventures of Barefoot and Boofoot. Boofoot. Okay, talk about that.
Well, the book was inspired by my son, who I've raised out there, and the boy is 8 years old, and basically he lives the life like we do in the wilderness, so I put a lot of my own life into it through a child's eyes. And do you want me to tell you what the story is about?
Yes,
okay. It's about a boy, and he wakes up in the middle of the night. His friend Squirrel comes to find him and tell him that Grandpa Beaver has gotten stuck under a tree, so they're going to go out and try to help rescue this beaver. And instead of going home after that ordeal is done, he decides he's going to go explore a little more and falls into the river. And he's saved by a caribou who is Boofoot, who's the other main character in the book.
Oh, okay.
And there's a lot of humor in it, adventure. I put a lot of knowledge of the wilderness living in it for people to share, especially children, so they can learn a little bit about the woods in Alaska.
So they become buddies.
Yes.
That is interesting.
And there's going to be 5 books in the series, and each one is done for a different time of year, so that I can put in certain subsistence activities that we would do in our own life.
Well, it sounds like a great theme for a film. Shop that around for somebody to buy the movie. Yes,
I would like to.
That would be great.
I've had children tell me, I would love to see this as a movie.
Yeah, that would be great. Disney or somebody ought to fall all over themselves to make something like that. Because we've seen so much of that lately. It's coming back, where there's these family-oriented films are starting to make money, and these guys are saying, hey, if we can make money doing them, let's do it. I wish there was a better reason, but, if that works, it works. But how long have you been working on this particular one?
Well, I wrote it 10 years ago and did some rewrites and eventually put it on a shelf because I didn't really know what to do with it. And it sat there for a while. And then my parents knew somebody in Mentone, Willie Mathis, who's an editor, and just running into him re-inspired me to get the book edited and eventually published.
So you did not self-publish this book?
We did, actually.
Oh, you did? Okay.
We started our own small publishing company and published it ourselves.
Wow. So how long did it take you to get it into print and, get it out into stores? Or you just
Not very long. We did last fall. It just took a couple weeks of designing it and getting the whole look together, and then ordering books, so it was available pretty quick.
And this is a hardbound, almost coffee table style book. And
I also have soft covers.
Oh, you do? And look at the size of the print. Oh, yeah.
I did the illustrations in it, too.
Oh, really?
And the picture on the cover, I painted that.
That's a beautiful picture on the front. Yeah, the whole thing is, the print's even big enough where I can read it without glasses. That's great. And it's not a long book, so you can keep a child's interest long enough to read this book.
Read it out loud to smaller children. Older children, 7, 8, 9 years old, could read it themselves. And I've found a lot of adults who have enjoyed it too, for the humor.
I'll bet that's true. Did you use that in the bird too? Oh, really? I know this is radio and you folks can't see this, but there's a beautiful illustration of a bird here on one of the pages. I'm trying to find the illustration. Oh my! Well, beavers chewing on a tree. It's just beautifully done. It's got a very nice feel to it. I mean, as far as the ambiance of this, just looking at the book rather than not even reading it yet, you get a great feel for the kind of sense that it gives you as you read it. Now, you're going to have a book signing tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yes.
At Kamama's in Mentone from 1 until 3 o'clock. So you're going to be there to sign copies of this. How much is this book?
$20 for the hardcover and $15 for the soft.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you, I would recommend to you folks the hardcover because I haven't seen the soft cover, but the hardcover here seems like it would stay nice for a long time.
Yes, people have actually been buying more of the hardcovers.
I can see why. Just the illustration on the cover is just beautiful. And, this would, particularly with kids, this would survive.
Yeah.
There's some other things that may not. But good luck with this. It sounds like you've got a lot of background and your own experiences are in here. This is like it's seen through the eyes of the child.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't know, would you recommend other people doing what you've done?
It's not for everybody.
Yeah, I imagine not.
It's not even the cold, but I think people in Alaska don't realize, or people outside of Alaska don't realize how bad the mosquitoes are there in the summertime.
Oh. Well, the ground's very dead. The permafrost gets very soggy, doesn't it, in the summertime?
And there's a lot of lakes and swampy areas because of the permafrost.
Oh, boy.
Ground.
I hadn't thought about mosquitoes as a problem.
Yes,
Ew.
they're bad. I have to wear a bug net when I go outside.
Oh.
And I have to have nets over my bed.
And you enjoy this?
Well, I suppose I enjoy the bugs
taste,
because they keep the people away that would otherwise move there.
That's true. Well, that 100-mile walk up to your front door has probably got to keep a lot of the salesmen away.
It does. I've never had anybody show up unexpectedly.
Do you have a telephone or any kind of communication ability?
I have a satellite phone out there.
Oh,
when we first went out there, we had nothing. So we just said goodbye to everybody we knew, and they didn't hear from us for a year. So I'm sure that was hard on my parents, not knowing.
I imagine it was, because they don't know if you're okay, or, there's been an avalanche, or, whatever that may have caused it. But now you can stay in contact. Is that an expensive business, the satellite phone?
It is. It's $1 a minute, but we've kind of found a way around that by getting emails through the phone.
Oh.
So you don't have to sit there and talk. You can write all your emails beforehand and then just turn the phone on and send them all out.
Okay.
And usually it costs about $1 to send them out.
Oh,
we do that every so often.
Okay, that's not bad. So that far north, though, you don't have any trouble with the satellite then?
A little bit.
A little bit?
Yeah.
I know there was some concern about the GPS system working that far north, but they found that it actually does, and they weren't sure that it would. And with the satellites off of the equator, out as far as they are, you have to really, like our satellite dishes would be shot like right along the ground almost to be able to do that, because the horizon would be so low. Yeah,
we have an antenna up on our roof, which helps.
Oh, for your satellite phone? Oh, okay. Wow. That's, I take my hat off to you for living that kind of life. I mean, I couldn't do it. I've thought about it a lot since my mother brought this up way back. And now we watch a lot of programs about it because it's a beautiful place. I'd love to see it. But staying there, I don't know. I mean, I think coming from the big city to here is kind of probably as basic as I want to get. Because I can just walk out the door and go down and get a hamburger or something like that, and you guys have got to, do the rolling thing or the motorized 100 miles before you even get anywhere near. And you can't even get a hamburger after the 100-mile run, right?
No, but we do eat a lot of moose burgers.
Do you? What's it like? What's the moose burger taste like?
It's a little different from cows. I actually noticed my son doesn't like eating cow meat so much because he's used to eating moose meat.
Huh.
But it's not as strong as deer meat. It's more like a cow. Very lean.
Now, do you kill your own
moose
supplies?
Yes.
Now, other than moose, what would you go out after?
Well, I've eaten bear meat, and I've eaten wolf meat before. I've eaten owl. There's ptarmigan, which is the type of bird, kind of like a grouse. Some of that. Rabbit. I think that's about it.
Oh, well, that's enough. I mean, there's enough wildlife up there to have a variety, then I take it of food. Wow.
And fish, because we're on a lake. And so there's salmon in the summertime and northern pike in the lake.
That just really sounds like a very interesting way to live. And how long did it take you to get used to it?
Well, when I first moved to Alaska, I didn't move straight out to the wilderness, and the whole first winter, I felt like an idiot because everything was new, and I didn't know how to do anything, and it took maybe 2 years for that feeling to wear off and to get some practice and learn how to run a chainsaw.
Well, you know now, though, don't you? I mean, that should be the second nature by now.
Yes, I do.
And the people in the village know you when you come into town, or you see them so rarely that they... Wow. Well, I recommend this book. It should be a lot of fun for kids and adults as far as that goes. It's called The Adventures of Barefoot and Boofoot. And it's by... Am I leaving out anything?
I was going to go down today and donate a book to the Fort Payne Library.
Oh, that would be great.
If anybody wants to go to the library and check it out, or there's one in the Mentone, Moon Lake Library.
Yeah. Great. I'm sure they would be glad to have this.
Next Friday, I'm going to read to the kids at the library also at 9 in the morning.
Okay.
I'm going to do a reading of the book.
Okay. I will make a note of that so I'll remember to talk about it next Friday. You're going to be there next Saturday?
Next Friday?
Next Friday.
At Moon Lake Library.
At Moon Lake, okay. I'll make sure I mention that so people know. We've been talking to Romey Atchley, who wrote the book Barefoot and Boofoot. And she lives in Alaska. Like those shows you see, the reality shows, only she's not doing a television show. She's really doing the real deal. And she's written a book about her experiences kind of from the eyes of a child. And it's very interesting reading. Once you see the book, you've really got to try this on your kids, and you get it. Just from opening the book, you get the feel of it right away. You don't have to read one word. You just get the whole feel of it. Thanks for coming. It's good to see you.
Sure, thank you.
The book signing is tomorrow at Mentone at Kamama's, and she'll be there from 1 until 3, correct? Signing books, and it's available in hardback and softback. So, congratulations. Hope it works out well for you. Let's take a break. It's time for Tim's News, and we'll be back right after that.